Welcome back to Thesis Pending. This is week 7. So this week has not been the best. Having had 2 weeks of being fairly productive, I wasn't very well at the start of this week. Had some personal stuff happen as well. It's all just been a bit, I have not had any time this week to do any work, which is less than ideal. You probably also noticed there hasn't been another video since the previous Thesis Pending. I normally do something in between. I've not had the energy all the time. So, one of those weeks. But since it is Mental Health Awareness Week in the UK and Mental Health Awareness Month, I believe, in the US, because you gotta do it bigger and better, haven't you? So, as I'm sure most of you know, I had a pretty bad mental health time last year, and I ended up taking 3 months off from my PhD to get my brain back on track, basically. I needed a break. It was a case of severe stress, burnout, resulting in anxiety, which got to the point where I couldn't leave the house on my own without the thought of that giving me a bit of a panic attack. So, it wasn't great. So the exact things that led to me developing that, I covered that in my slightly tongue-in-cheek video, How to Ruin Your Mental Health as a PhD student, which you've also probably seen because I plug the hell out of that video because I'm very proud of it. So there'll be a card up here to click on for that. Those are all the things that I did. There were some minor other things as well, but that's all the stuff to do with my PhD, the major things that resulted in me developing really bad stress leading to anxiety. So I'd say go watch that and don't do those things. There we go. Talk done. Great. The problem with discussing mental health is that I don't want to come across as someone who's telling you what to do. I don't want to give advice on how to deal with mental health because I'm not a professional. I can tell you what I've done that worked for me, but that doesn't mean it'll work for you. And I can give general vague advice, which you can find anywhere. So rather than telling you what to do, which obviously should start with seeking help from a professional or talking to your friends and family about it, because talking is good. But other than that, I'm not going to say anything. So I'm just going to talk about my experience of, how that happened. So really, everything kind of just went wrong for me in my second year of uni when I wasn't really engaging with what I was doing anymore. I started to lose interest and I'm still not enamoured with my subject anymore. I think the problem with a PhD is how long it is. 4 years of working on one project, and if it's not something you desperately want to dedicate your entire life to, you're probably going to start losing interest midway through, and that is what happened to me. And I didn't just talk to anybody about how stressed I was and how I didn't feel like I was doing enough. Even though looking back, I clearly was. At the time, it felt like everyone was working harder than me, so I had to push myself even harder, which resulted in me getting very stressed, burning out, and then getting frustrated that I wasn't able to keep up that pace. It happens to a lot of postgrad students. We put so much pressure on ourselves, and the majority of postgrad students develop symptoms or actually develop a condition of mental health at some point during their study. The majority. It's not a handful of people. It's over half. I will link some studies and articles that have talked about this, but it's really bad. I've always been in very male-dominated environments. I studied physics and then I studied a technical geography course, and now I'm doing a technical geography PhD. And although there are other female PhD students, the staff who I interact with are all men. And because of that, although I know the whole thing of men not having feelings and not showing what they're, all that, I know it's not true, but it seeps in, and I felt like I couldn't show weakness. I didn't want to be the emotional woman who isn't able to handle the pressure. So I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell my supervisor that I was struggling, and I just kept everything bottled up, and that resulted in me having pretty much a mental breakdown whilst on a Skype chat with my supervisors, with me in floods of tears. And they were really great about it, because they're people and they care. And I think we forget that. We see our supervisors as this authority figure who, critiques us and instructs us on what to do. But they're also there to look after us in a weird way. Within a few weeks, I had suspended my studies for a few months and everything was good. And I took the time off that I needed. And although it wasn't a cure, obviously I'm still struggling, but I'm nowhere near on the scale that I was. And things are a lot better and it's manageable. Because for me, it is so linked to my research. As long as I don't overwhelm myself with work and I don't put too much pressure on myself, I do okay. So I can kind of manage everything. Now when I feel myself getting worse, I can take a day off and then go back the next day and be all right, rather than let it build to the point where I needed 3 months. So things are under control, but you know, until I finish my PhD, the cause of it is going to be there, which is the frustrating thing. So yeah, I don't want anyone worrying about me. Like, honestly, I'm doing all right. I am managing. I have great friends and family who are very supportive. It's all good. And yeah, I'm doing fine. But if you are struggling and you're not talking to anyone about it, I would really, really recommend doing it, because it is scary to open up. But people are generally nice and they're not going to judge you for it. If you would be interested in some tips about the things that I do to handle my anxiety, like, I can make a video about that, but I am a little bit hesitant because, yeah, I don't want to go giving out advice and making people feel like this is going to make them feel better. And if it doesn't work for them, then they'll feel worse about that. And I just, you know, I don't want to make anyone feel worse. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again next week.